Have you ever wondered if your past, the things that you've done before you found Christ, would keep you from being able to serve him, would keep you from being qualified to tell people about him? Maybe people like to remind you of who you are or who you have been or the things that you've done. Maybe you spent years carrying labels around that you wish you could erase. Well, Rahab was no different. She knew exactly how you feel. She knew exactly what you've been through because she's been there herself. When people hear her name or when people spoke her name, they knew that she was a prostitute. Even now, when we talk about her, her name is attached to the word prostitute. And we know that is a woman of ill repute. That is a woman who has a reputation for doing things that are not godly. That is a woman who has a reputation for using her body for things that were not, well, that God didn't mean for them to be used for. Imagine making one mistake, and that mistake being attached to you for the rest of your life. There's no going back. And yet God looked beyond the labels. God looked beyond who she was. He looked beyond her faults, and he saw something amazing, and he used her anyway, and it's the same way with us. As we all know, God can use anyone. He's no respecter of person. There's not one person he feels like is better than another. And so Rahab might have been an unlikely choice, but she was the person that God chose in order to hide the spies, and she put herself in the lineage of Jesus Christ. So I want us to look at who Rahab really was. Who was she? We know she was not an Israelite, but what we do know is that she lived in Jericho, which is a fortified city. We know that her house was built into the city walls. We know, most of all, that she was a prostitute. And by saying that she was a prostitute, we're not condemning her. But what we're saying is, we know she had a career that most people did not think of as honorable. It definitely was not a respectable profession. And what we don't know is, why was she a prostitute? Why did she decide to enter into this profession? It can be so easy to look at her and judge. But the thing is, we don't know why. We don't know what happened to her. We don't know what her beginning was. We don't understand her circumstances. Was it poverty? We do know that she had a family that she loved and that she wanted to protect, because what she made the spies promise her was that when they came and when they took over the city, that they were going to save her brother, her father, her sisters. They were going to save her household. So we know she was trying to provide for her family. She was acting as a protector for them. So we do not know the reason she entered into the profession in which she is in. I want to say this. It's so easy for us to look at her and judge her because of what she did or because of her profession. But think about how easily it could have been us. If our circumstances were different and things that were turned around and it was us, how would we feel if someone was looking at and judging us? The next thing I want us to look at is that God already positioned her. She was positioned already. Her house was built into the wall of Jericho. The significance of that is her house wasn't in the middle of the city. It wasn't on the outskirts of the city. Her house was built into the wall. We can know from that God already knew what he wanted her to do. From the beginning of time, he knew. From the time she was born, he knew he could trust her. He knew where to place her. And he placed her house, he placed her place of business right into the walls of Jericho. No one was going to think it was strange that strange men, were at this woman's house because of her profession. At a glance, it may have seemed like an insignificant detail, but God had a plan. God always has a plan for us. We may not understand the plan, but God did. He knew he was going to need her one day. He knew exactly what he was doing, and so he chose her in order to be the one to hide the spies when they came. One of the things I think about when I think about Rahab and where she was, I think about us, not in the aspect of thinking about her profession or thinking about what she did or what she did not do. What I think about is sometimes we're in a place, as they say, as they talk about in the book of Esther. If you'll think about Esther, Queen Esther, Before she became queen, she was just an ordinary girl living an ordinary life, living with her uncle and trying to survive until she caught the attention of the king's men, who decided that she was a beautiful woman. She gets taken to the palace, and unbeknownst to her uncle or her people, she will be instrumental in helping to save their very lives. She was positioned at the right place at the right time to help save her family. And so when I go back to Rahab and I look at her and I look at where she was and where she was positioned, we can look at it as a sob story. We can say, poor Rahab, she was a prostitute. She was sleeping with all these different men. She was doing all these things. But you have to remember that God placed her where she was for such a time as the one in which she had to face. The amazing thing about Rahab was that her profession did not disqualify her. Just because of the profession that she had, just because she was a prostitute, God didn't count her out. Instead, God counted her in. So I want us to remember today, it does not matter where we start, it only matters where we end. And because of the circumstances of her life, God was able to use her. There is a certain beauty in the redemption, in her salvation. Because not only did she help to save the Israelites, but she is placed in the lineage of Jesus Christ himself. So I want us to think about the fact that it doesn't matter, again, about our past, but what counts is where our future lies. We know our future lies with Jesus Christ. Who was she? She was not an Israelite. She was not raised knowing Moses. She was not there when they crossed the Red Sea. She had no part in these saved people of God. Yet and still she had the faith enough to believe, the knowledge enough to know that their God was God, and she trusted in him enough that she was willing to go against her own kinsmen, her own country, her own kind, in order to help hide the spies. And all she asked was that they remember her when they came into the city, and that they spared her and her family. We all know how the story of Rahab ended. She hid the spies. In essence, she saved their lives. And not only did she impact their lives, but she impacted our lives too, because of her heroic act, because she decided to save a group of people who she had no relation to. She placed herself in the lineage of Jesus Christ. That lets us know that we can be an ordinary person with an extraordinary destiny. And that's just what she was. She was a woman of faith, a woman who believed without knowing, who believed without seeing. And that's what we're called to do today. I thank you guys so much for listening. This has been the One Shield of Two Cute Life Lessons. And I'll see you guys in the next video.